Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
Hey, this is Bob Bender, and you're listening to this week's edition of the business side of music. Got a real special guest in the studio with us tonight. I guess maybe should say over the phone in the studio with us tonight. This band was founded in 1978, 39 years ago, and based out of Toronto, Canada. The heavy metal band Anvil came into existence. 10 years later, I had the unique opportunity to tour with this band, join them on the road, as they toured the U.S. in support of their studio album, Pound for Pound, and as they began work on their upcoming live in-concert project. 16 studio albums later and countless miles on the road touring, they're still out there making what I consider a big musical statement. To me, this is a story of perseverance and determination unlike anything anyone has ever heard of. It's been cited that Anvil has influenced such acts as Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, and Metallica. Their performances and music have had them on such films as The Green Hornet and The Final Destination, along with an appearance on The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien. Keith Spera from the New Orleans Times-Picayune is quoted as saying that for the metal band Anvil, overnight success was just 32 years and one documentary film away. Let's welcome Steve Kudlow, better known as Lips, the vocalist and lead guitarist for the heavy metal band Anvil. Hey, Lips, welcome to the show.
I feel very welcomed. I'm talking to my old friend, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
Man, long time. But to catch people up, we go back a long time. We actually met in about 1988. I got the call a couple days before, and a band was looking for a road manager, and flew out and met you guys. And boy, what a wild ride that was for a while.
Everything came on that road, including my dog.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the dog.
Yeah.
So Anvil, you guys seemed to get your first big break in 1984 when you toured with the Scorpions over in Japan.
Actually, our real first breaks were in '83.
Okay.
To be the completely exact, because at that moment the record company that we were involved with had certain connections. One of which was with Motorhead's management at the time, as well as Iron Maiden's management. So we got to open for Iron Maiden and Motorhead, particularly Motorhead, all through the UK. So that was our first real break. But very soon after that, we got signed to an American management company called, if I got to remember, I guess it's not really important.
Old age is great, isn't it?
Generally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking, 30 plus years ago. And we got involved with this big, massive management, the guy who managed, Aerosmith at the time, and Ted Nugent, Scorpions, a number of bands. In any case, we came in there at such a time, it was right at the very beginnings of what they called heavy metal. From hard rock, all of a sudden now it's become heavy metal, and we were there. But now this particular manager was much more in tune to understanding what hard rock was. And it took us for a big fall at that particular moment. But in '84, they kind of gave us our last moments of glory and put us on a small festival tour of Japan called Super Rock '84, which is how the actual sort of the movie sort of began at the end of our big hurrah at our first crack at getting big.
Right.
And then after that, we had to deal with everything else. And you actually came in just after that fact, when we had to go on to a smaller label, no management, when a lot of things went away, right? So I'm just giving you a bit of insight.
So let's chat about that for a second, because it seems like no one could explain why things didn't take off from that point for the band? I mean, it seems like there were a lot of cards in the deck and a lot of things in position to go, but it didn't. The trigger didn't get pulled. It seems like, or if it did, it was a false fire.
No, it just misunderstood. I think David Krebs misunderstood what we were, and really was, trying to use, I guess, his ideas of what it was like, 3-4 years earlier, but it's not really 3-4 years earlier.
Yeah, right.
Not understanding the music that we're actually creating. When he listened to songs like 666 or Motor Mouth, he's telling me not to put them in the set. And that's the stuff that Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax picked up, got their record deals, and went on to be megastars with.
Right. Yeah. Well, and so
it completely misdirection, which caused a tailspin for the band.
Well,
right?
And then I think
it's just what it is.
And I read at one point too that Lemmy from Motorhead asked you to replace Eddie Clark, the guitarist, but you turned that down.
Yes, that's true.
Was it because you were focusing on the band at that time, or?
Well, it was right at a crucial moment. We were basically in the studio recording our third album, and demoing songs for it. We're going in for our third album. The option was already picked up. I'm signed to a record deal. I'm the lead singer and lead guitarist of my own band, and I'm being asked to go do something for somebody else.
Gotcha.
It just
didn't make
wrong
sense.
Time.
Yeah, wrong time. Yeah. And then, of course,
I mean, not that I wouldn't do it, and there was moments of disappointment, particularly from Lemmy's perspective, and he actually got very angry and told me that this could be a real big break for you, and you could always go back. Well, you can't go back if you screw up contracts. You're going to be in legal. You're going to get sued.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is no going back. But those things were settled soon after, and we actually ended up doing our third album, finishing our third album, and going out with Motorhead all over the UK. So we certainly we buried the axe, let's say.
Good. One of the things I also saw was they talked about the setbacks that the band suffered, and your guys, your ongoing determination. That was the one thing. I mean, you guys were just tenacious. But it was
yes, but the things that were unsurmountable, that you can't really quantify, or we were forced out of our first record deal. When we signed with the big management company in America, they tried to get a deal with American labels, saying, okay, we'll pick up the first 3 albums, but unfortunately, the American labels wanted those first 3 albums for free.
Oh, you mean kind of like today?
They weren't willing to pay anything to the original label who had gone over $100,000 into the red, making us as big as we were. They wouldn't help them pay off that bill at all. They want those records for free. Well, I can understand that the guy in the original label is going, "What are you guys out of your mind or what?" You know what I mean? Especially at that time. For that time, that's a lot of money. So what in eventuality happened, the guy in Canada, the Canadian label, basically was strong-armed to let the band go.
Wow.
So once we got let go, now we had no record deal. So there goes 4 years. And then we finally get a record deal with an independent in the United States, because none of the majors wanted to touch us, because by that point in time, everything in their backyard is blossoming just beautifully. So why are they going to sign a Canadian band?
Right.
That they can't access their first 3 albums and they can't get them for nothing. So that's what happened to Anvil and why it happened. So it's really pretty, but broken down to as simplistic as I possibly can.
So we're gonna touch base on that here in a second. This is Bob Bender, and you're listening to the business side of music.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hi, this is Bob Bender, president of Bob Bender Productions. Since 1987, our company has provided consultation and artist direction services for recording industry artists. If you're looking to take your music career to the next level, or simply need advice on jump-starting a project or marketing one that's been completed, then we're here to assist you with over 40 years of experience in the entertainment business. We offer individual or group sessions, in person, or over the phone or Skype consultations. Feel free to call our office at 661-326-1140 or email us at info@bobbenderproductions.com for more details.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hey, we're back in the studio today with Lips from the band Anvil. I want to jump back to 1987. The independent label you had signed with was Metal Blade, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing because by the point that they were finally getting involved, I think we'd already recorded the record ourselves on the cuff at
And that was Brian Slagle who was running the label. He was just like one guy running this entire label, if I remember right. Distribution, I think, was a little bit of an issue.
He had a staff, and the guy in particular that got in touch with me is still very much in the business, and that's William Howell, who is actually a DJ on KNAC. Like a webcast. He's still a DJ. You call him DJ Will. Anyways, that guy was the A&R man for Metal Blade Records, and he called me and directly, right to Lips, I want to sign your band, and I'm going, look, I don't really want to sign with you guys. I'm looking around. I'm going to try and find everywhere else. I'm looking anywhere, and you will be the last in line. And I went on like that for almost a year, if not longer, before I finally said, okay, well, it's the only thing that I can find. And that's where we ended up, is on Metal Blade.
But of course, out of that, you wound up recording your live album, Past and Present, in Los Angeles. I mean, they were behind that, weren't they?
Yes, that was already the third. That was their third and final record that they were involved with. And it's interesting because just as that record came out, the contract with our original label ran out on them having grabs at any live performance. Anyway, that's a whole other story. We just made it through the gate on that one, too.
As it swung shut. Yeah. So you were quoted at one time as saying, we'll play gigs sometimes when there's no one there. And I have. Yeah. And I remember a couple of those dates. I mean, those had to have been tough times. I mean, that was all part of that travel, that journey you guys were on.
Oh yeah, I mean, but you have to have a certain perspective, be able to see what it really all is. On, you're going into a place where the guy has hired you. Whoever comes through the door, that's your pay, right?
Right.
And the agent tells you before you go, they go, well, there might be some people there, and you'll make some money. Otherwise, it's a night off.
Yeah, okay? And it's a night off,
and it's a Monday, and it's a Monday night in Pittsburgh,
and it's snowing outside, and the heater's
right.
not working in the motorhome. Yeah.
That's right, and that's there's your gig, okay?
Yeah.
And was anybody there? No. Did your dog bite the bar owner because he was trying to feed him a piece of meat? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, man.
There's always stories, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it comes with it, and you have to accept it because, the next night's packed. So what does that mean? Does it imply that you have fans in one place and not the other? No, not necessarily. It may mean that the club owner never bothered even letting anybody know that you're there.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's a huge one. I mean, that plagues me to this day.
Yeah, and that happens more often than not, too.
Yeah, because it costs money to promote. And that means that the gig is costing the promoter more money. So what can I do to cheap out or to pay less? I just won't promote. I'll just hope that word of mouth, or I'll hire a couple of support bands who will sell tickets for me, and I'll be okay. And sometimes you get that happening. It's just, what are you going to do? But it's that or have a night off.
Yeah, but you guys kept persevering, and I think that right there, once again, speaks volumes. You never gave up. And I want to fast forward to 2006 when you released This Is 13. Was the documentary, the VH1 documentary, This Is Anvil, was that already in the works, or did that album help launch the documentary on the band?
Well, it's actually very interesting. And in 2005, we were at a metal festival in Italy. It was one of those one-offs. It was one kind of unbelievable. Anyway, I had this bizarre foreboding feeling about going, but we went anyway. But as it turned out, this is where we met the crazy lady Tiziana,
who's in the documentary.
Who was in the documentary and set up the tour. The different bands that were there have all been part of our recent history very, very strongly, almost like whatever happened in 2005 set off an explosion. By the time I got home from that festival, I had received an email from the director, who I hadn't heard from since before I met you. Okay, probably 87 was the last time we had ever seen this guy.
Right.
And what I'm talking about is Sasha Gervasi. So we had originally met him in the Marquee Club in London, England, backstage. He was a 15-year-old kid. We made friends with him, and one of those kind of things. He came with us on earlier tours and stuff, and we really left an impression. So here he finally gets back in touch with me, and by this point in his life, he'd become a screenwriter for Steven Spielberg. He had written the screenplay, The Terminal, for Spielberg that he did with
that
Tom
had
Hanks.
Tom Hanks, yeah.
Right. And that was sort of somewhat the big smash hit in a certain sense for Sasha, or his starting point. Right at that moment, after the finishing of that film, he decided he's going to look me up to see how I'm doing. So he discovers what I'm doing and what I have been doing, and he invites me down to LA. I have no idea what the hell's going on until I get down there, and then he tells me he worked for Spielberg and wrote The Terminal, and I start freaking out. I can't believe it. It's just an unbelievable thing. So, just like he's freaking out, like I'm flipping out about what's happened to him, he's flipping out about, why are you guys not stars already? Like, I don't get it. And, I bring him a pile of CDs, and he's going, my God, if this is the way it is, what is this? And we had gone to Steve Zalian's house, which is the producer, I guess, or the part of the screenwriting team that Spielberg worked on with for Schindler's List. And we went. This is one of Sasha's friends, and we go over there to hang out. And the guy's like looking at Sasha. What did you bring to my house?
It's Lips from Anvil.
Yeah, right. And the guy goes, hey, listen, Sasha, you should make a movie about this. This is unbelievable. Who thinks they're going to be a rock star that's 50 years old this is compelling. Put a movie together. And that clicked Sasha to think of doing that. So that's how that actually happened.
Wow.
Which is like, how does that happen? That's how it happens. It's not something you can plan for. That's for sure.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the movie Anvil, the story of Anvil here. We're going to take a quick break. This is Bob Bender, and you're listening to the business side of music.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hi, this is Vinny Rebus, the founder of Indie Connect. Our goal is to ensure that you have the knowledge, the tools, skills, resources, and connections that you need to develop a profitable and long-lasting career in music. One way we do this is through these Business Side of Music podcasts. I'd also like to invite you to check out Indie Connect magazine, our free multimedia online publication packed with practical interviews and advice from music industry experts. Go to www.indieconnectmag. That's www.indieconnectmag.com. Let us walk with you and guide you every step of your musical journey.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hey, you're back with Bob Bender, the business side of music, with our special guest, dear old road buddy, friend of mine, Steve Kudlow from the rock group Anvil. We're talking about this documentary film that was made. I remember when it first came out and watched it on VH1, and was just, first of all, it was great to see you guys, and it was a bittersweet journey, and not to be a spoiler if you haven't seen the movie, you definitely got to see it. But it went on to receive critical acclaim, and it was actually, from what I understand, premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, which is really cool in its own right.
Yeah, that was an amazing experience.
And then, were you there when it premiered?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just an unbelievable experience, because it was the first film festival we went to, and well, it's actually interesting. We had all the CDs pressed, and they had rented a van for us to get to and from the different film places where the movie was, and doing all the interviews and whatnot. So out of the back, after the things played for the first time, everybody came out into the freezing cold parking lot, and everybody's buying CDs out the back of the van.
Back of the van.
Yeah.
Oh, just like old times.
Yeah, no, it's just, I don't know, just unbelievable experiences. I think it could have even been more powerful, which was we discovered, and actually we knew it at the time, but couldn't coordinate. We played with the movie. So the movie would end and we would come out playing.
How did that go over?
And we called that our popcorn tour.
Well, since that documentary came out, the record business has changed dramatically. You talk about selling CDs out of the back of vans. CD sales have all but gone away in the marketplace, at least in the U.S., and downloads are now being replaced with streaming. Most acts these days can break out on their own without the help of a label. Do you think that's true for you guys? You've been doing this a long time.
I don't think a band can break out without a label.
Okay.
I actually don't believe that. And when it happens, it's a fluke, a major fluke. It's not by any means that anybody could ever explain. It's like, how did this band get big? If that ever happens, because without record companies, there is no infrastructure. There's no building on a career. What? From where? How do you open up a Facebook and you start advertising your band, or you put your song on YouTube? How is anybody going to know it's there? There's no advertising. What a record label was originally set up to do was to inform the public that here's some music. Its main function and ultimate function was promotion. And promotion that could be made profit on. But as soon as they remove the sales of the CD, you have no infrastructure. There's no way for a record company to be able to survive without being able to sell something.
Are
basically,
are you still selling CDs?
Yes, but the real truth is most of it is done by sales online now because most of the stores don't carry it. If you happen to be in a Best Buy or Walmart, they only carry what is the top sellers and current.
Right. Yeah, they go about 10 deep, and that's about it.
So, yeah, that's right. So getting distribution is next to impossible. So, but now having said that, on the road, when the people are at your shows, it's easy to dump CDs because you can't get them. It's easy as hell to buy them right there.
Well, and it becomes an emotional purchase.
And you get an emotional sale.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is somebody sparked up at the moment. That's how you sell CDs. But it's very, very difficult for labels to make money now. They're making a lot more through package deals, in the sense that they'll make they'll put together a number of your records and put them into one package, and that's everybody wants a deal. It's very difficult to make money, and they're doing everything that they can to still hold on to whatever they can sell. And for the most part, in today's scene, vinyl, and of course it's nowhere near what it was, but nonetheless it is a saleable commodity and a hard copy, so to speak.
Well, and what they're selling those for too. Yeah, I mean it's decent money when you can sell a vinyl record anymore. The retail on those things, they're very expensive. I know
they're very expensive because there's the most of the 90%, if not more, of the vinyl making plants are closed down. So there's a huge lineup and backlog of, like, certainly all the old catalogs are being reprinted, and they're taking up all the presses right now. So if you have a new album out, you got to start probably 4 months ahead with the master tapes being sent to be manufactured for vinyl.
To have any kind of a reasonable timeline. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Pretty hard. It makes the business of music very difficult.
Well, it makes it interesting, that's for sure. You mentioned some years back, we were talking about records, that the 1983 album Forged in Fire might have been too progressive for the time. In fact, I listened to it this past weekend, and to me, I actually found it refreshing. I especially the title track. It's literally one of those albums where I'll crank up the stereo in my office and play it loud. Is that your favorite? I mean, you got 16 albums. Do you have a favorite album?
No, it's like asking what's my favorite day or what's my favorite week. You know what I mean? It's like each record is a chunk out of my life. It represents a piece of time to me. Each album, they're kind of that's the best way to describe it for me, just in the same way it is for the listener, in the sense, like, if you were 15, 16 years old enough and you listen to the first Black Sabbath album, when you listen to it when you're 50 or 15, 16 years old, in your brain, when it clicks off the memories of what you were doing, where you were, and what was going on when you first heard that music. Well, that's what it does for me when we talk about my different albums. It's not about what's the best one. It's more about what mood am I in to reminisce, so to speak. Like if I pull out, let's say Pound for Pound, it will probably remind me of, more than likely, of that tour, particularly the tour bus, or not the bus, but the coach that we were driving.
Right.
There are certain things about it triggers the memories of doing certain songs like Toe Jam and stuff like that. That brings back, right away when I think about that, that brings back those moments. Now, is that one of my favorite moments? I don't know. In a certain sense, yes, because I remember it, right?
At that moment, it was your favorite moment.
Yeah, it's just a very, very difficult question to answer.
Hey, this is Bob Bender, and you're listening to The Business Side of Music.
You're listening to the business side of music.
We're back here with Lips from the band Anvil on this edition of The Business Side of Music. I understand you and well, okay, let me go back for a minute, because so when I joined up with you guys on the road, you were a 4-piece. You know, you had Davey Allison playing guitar, and you had Ian Dixon on bass, and now and they'd been with you for a long time, I guess. I mean, at that point, I thought they had
at that point, but those were the closing years for them. And in fact, Dave left the band after the end of the live album, after the tour you were on. He quit the band.
You ever keep in touch with any of them anymore?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've been keeping in close contact with Dave for really about the last 6 or 7 months, and this is the first time that it's been like that since those early days. Like, I guess he's finally in a warmer place in his life. Maybe that's what it is, and he feels comfortable to have something to do with his past. But for many years, he would have nothing to do with us. We never heard from him, you know. But as of lately, it's been almost on a daily basis. And he said to say hello to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I told him I'd been in touch.
Definitely tell him I say hi back. You and Rob became authors, I understand. You guys wrote a book, the story of Anvil, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. What was that all about?
Well, after the success of the movie, the director had a publisher friend that he talked to, and then he interested him into creating a book. So we sat down with a sort of a stenographer for almost 3 weeks, man. 3 weeks of sitting and talking for hours and hours and hours on end, compiling everything that he needed to put it into one linear story. It's all different segments of all the different interviews from the hours and hours of talking. Unbelievable.
How did the book do?
Well, unfortunately, I think the book did well for certainly anybody who read it. They really enjoyed it. But the biggest issue is the publisher was waiting for the movie company to advertise the fact that there's a book, and they refused to take part in any kind of advertising campaign for the book. So no one knew the book was there. Sounds like album deals, right?
Yeah. Can you
more shit where people they drop the ball? Yeah. Well, you know, I thought I was getting a free ride. Well, fuck, I'm out of here. You know.
Do you? Can you get the book? I mean, is this something you can get on Amazon or?
Yeah, I think it's still out there, and I certainly have a number of copies.
Okay, so I'm going to give everybody your address, and they can get a hold of you.
No, it got picked up all over the world. It did get picked up all over the world, but but it was never advertised. So those who found out about it have it. I mean, at every gig, I'm signing copies, so it must have done pretty good out there. But they're not reporting to me because then they owe me money.
Yeah,
right?
They'd have to pay. Kind of like I saw a thing the other day where somebody created like a little neon sign with the Anvil logo, and you have to go after that person.
Oh yeah, yeah, I did. I ordered it, and then I said, you know who I am? You shouldn't really be doing this. Next thing I know, it's pulled down, and I got my money back.
Yeah, you should at least get royalties for that.
Oh, but I mean, when I went to the guy's site, he's got everybody. Like what I was shocked to see, Metallica's there, and they've got an in-house lawyer, and the guy doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
Somebody's not doing their job.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Well,
all these big bands are not doing the job. Anthrax is there. Aerosmith is there. They're all in neon lights with their logos. That's against the law.
yeah.
Well, the funny thing is people watch it because of the movie. Everybody's on their toes to watch out for things if they're going to rip off Anvil, and we know within seconds.
Man, so that brings the question up right there. What you just said, your loyal fans. At the end of the documentary, it painted a picture, at least in my perspective, of this large group of loyal fans located in Japan. Where do you think your biggest fan base is these days? Is there one country more than another, or?
I always say if it would be a massive concert if they could get them all in one place.
That'd be nice.
But no, it's actually very spread out pretty evenly. I wouldn't say one place is really more than the other. I mean, Germany has always been 100% consistent, and because of that, we've been able to record endless. That's why we've been in the business as long as we have, is fundamentally because of Germany. I mean, that's who really has financed our recordings, even going back as early as the Metal Blade days, because let's face it, although it was Roadrunner Records, the predominant amount of records sold in Europe were sold in Germany. So even if Roadrunner Records, which was in Holland, it was still making most of its money from Germany. But after that point, we've had German labels all through the rest of our career. So that's up until today, including right till today. And we were signed to a German label.
And you're still touring. How many dates a year do you do?
We did 111 last year, and we're still, including where I am doing right now, we're still doing shows as a result of the album we just put out. So it almost goes 2 years. You know what I mean? And almost each record gives you a cycle of almost 2 years of gigs. So we're in around 150 maybe.
Wow.
About 150.
Since
the album came out a year ago.
And making new fans along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. It's building all the time, and I think, interestingly, making the right business decisions. Okay, and that's who to get associated with, who is talking for you, who is getting your gigs, who is managing you, that's ultimately how you get leaps and bounds in this industry. There's no other real way. You're not going to be able to do it on your own. And luckily, because I made enough of an impact in the early 80s and kept from drowning all along and kept the thing above water, I was able to survive till I got that movie. And then once the movie happened, I've been able to quit my regular job. This is what I do for a living, and I'm making ends meet from being on the road and playing my music. So this is all working out really well. The other work model that has come to light, and the way that you work in this business today, is by pledge campaigns, which we're about to venture into it for the second time. And this is when you offer your fans the ability to buy your record before it's actually recorded. When we did the last record, by the time we finished in the studio, we were already, with the record company advance and the pledge campaign, we were already in the black. The first time in 39 years that I finished a record and no money is owed on it. And there's no money out of pocket. First time.
What a great feeling.
Yeah. So The old model of going to a record company and having them pay for it and never see another dime, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, nice feeling.
It's a nice place to be. So, but for a brand name, I have to underscore that a million times, because I don't know how I would be able to do. You can't do it if you're not a brand name. Like certainly putting out a pledge campaign, you go, "Hi, I'm Nips from Anvil," and you get on a little video skit. We're doing this without record companies, so if you want to, you can buy our album before we make it. And here's a bit of a taste. You show a bit of the rehearsal of a couple of riffs here and there. We'll keep in touch with you all through the whole process. We'll give you the names of the songs. We'll tell you, and you give them bits and bytes and opportunities like come to the studio and sing backup vocals, buy one of my amps, buy one of, all different options that come with the option to buy the download, mm-hmm. or a special pledge campaign CD, which always includes an extra track, which you won't get on the record company version. You get a T-shirt, whatever. There's all kinds of perks in the pledge campaign that draw your already fans into purchasing. Into a purchase. I mean, bottom line, it's a purchase. You're selling, but until we start, we're just getting it begun. But probably next week, we'll get started on the new pledge campaign. I can't really give you the details because they're not here for the next one yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
We're supposed to be putting it together next week, because we're going to begin our actual recording in August, and the new record the 17th album will be out in January or February of 2018.
Where are you going to be recording the album?
The story continues. We're going back to Germany again, working with the same producer. We found we got involved with a great management company over in Germany that is put us on tour with Udo Dirkschneider, which is the guy that was a singer of Accept, which did the song Balls to the Walls, if anybody remembers. And actually, he just did an American tour not very long ago, but we did most of Europe with Udo, which was a great experience, because they were all sellouts all through Europe, a minimum of 1,000 people a night. We had a fantastic over 50 shows there. So that was a big deal. Probably the biggest opportunity that Anvil's had to date was this year, or like last year in 2016. We got to do 50 shows all through Europe with our major drawing act. It's been the biggest opportunity so far. So you never know, man. It can happen late, but as long as it happens.
As long as it happens. Well,
yep.
Steve, I want to thank you for being on the show today. It's, some great stories, and there's probably a lot more we could tell, at least our time together, but I think we have an all-ages audience, so we won't share some of those stories. But it's great to have you on and catch up, and, on that, we're going to say, hey, this is Bob Bender, and you're listening to The Business Side of Music.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow, and is produced by Bob Bender for Bob Bender Productions. Co-producer for the show is Vinny Rivas. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Los Angeles, California, and Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound designed by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Fuson.